Hello, and welcome again to another in the series of our sneak peek interviews with our sponsors and speakers for the upcoming Capture Conference 2022, to be held in just outside of Chicago at a lovely golf course and resort on September 7th and 8th. We hope to see everyone out there listening to this there. We have with us today Jim Hayes. He is with OpenTexts, one of our sponsors, and we also absolutely thank OpenTexts for being one of our sponsors. Jim is, let me see if I get this right, Senior Marketing Manager for Capture at OpenTexts. It's a mouthful. Jim, good to see you again. Thanks for agreeing to answer these questions with us.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for the invite. You betcha.
So let's just dive right in. First question, we're starting to see a lot of digitizing the supply chains as inflation continues to be a drag on the economy. How big of a role does Capture have to play here, as in, how digitized or not are supply chains, and I guess all of the accounts payable and receivable and all that paperwork stuff around them?
Yeah, so what we've seen, some of the largest retailers, certainly the largest in the US, logistics companies worldwide, also the largest food producer worldwide, are using some of our intelligent capture products to automate, to capture all paper-based information coming in and to put it in a digital format with easy to use ergonomic user interfaces to process those documents. So what we see, first of all, is a trend towards, first of all, getting rid of invoices. So invoice processing, automating that whole process has been a big exercise, especially in SAP environments.
Yep.
So a lot of our business has been focused on that. What we also see is a lot of these organizations, although you can get rid of paper up front, there's kind of this sustainability issue of how do you eliminate paper-based processes within the culture of the organization itself. Mm-hmm. So you might be able to get rid, scan everything in, put it in digital format, but if you don't have those ergonomic, easy to use interfaces, there's a big chance that users downstream in the process might end up printing out images, for example, and turning those back into paper documents. So, right. So that's been another area that we've worked on a lot with shared services organizations. So as these supply chain organizations expand line of business applications beyond just invoice processing into HR, into bills of lading, incoming documents of all different type, unstructured document processing. So basically, these organizations are looking then to not just eliminate invoices as paper, but all paper entering the organization. Mm-hmm. So we've been working increasingly in supply chain management with shared services or managed service users and leaders that are basically trying to get rid of paper up front, automate those processes, put the information in usable UIs like ergonomic user interfaces, and basically kick off these downstream workflows completely paper-free.
It's kind of fascinating to hear you talk about that, because it's always about, it's never really about the technology, is it? It's always about the users and the lack of training and sort of that change management stuff, which is always seems to be sort of the last thing that anyone pays attention to. It's fascinating to hear that OpenText is working to focus on that. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. We're putting together a campaign right now. I was just working on this morning with some colleagues around sustainability and paper-free, basically for the environment, mm-hmm. and using that as kind of an angle to talk about getting rid of paper directly as it enters the organization, eliminating those downstream tendencies to touch paper again or print things out. So yeah, a lot of that's a cultural thing that we're again via these intuitive ergonomic UIs, we've been able to eliminate a lot of that. So
yeah, it's also fascinating how big of a hidden cost that paper is, both just from having to buy the paper and the copiers and all of that infrastructure that goes with it, plus obviously the drag for manual processes and all that stuff, and go back to paper. So switching gears a little bit to digital transformation. Obviously, you hate that term, but let's lean into it. Took a huge shot in the arm, no pun intended, from COVID. And as COVID recedes a little bit temporarily, maybe not now, into the background, does OpenText still see a push to digital transformation amongst your customers, or is it tapering off? It sounds like it's not tapering off from your previous answer.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah, definitely the trend is, and I think with inflation and a potential downturn in the economy, that capture tends to remain strong in these environments because of the return on investment and the ability not only to eliminate paper and paper-based processes, but to automate a lot of the manual processes associated with document and data capture. So definitely data transformation or digital transformation was kind of a buzzword over the last couple of years, but the fact is organizations still see a very strong return on investment. In fact, on our website, we just created a new return on investment calculator to talk about if you do have a legacy capture application, if you added the most advanced OCR technologies and intelligent document recognition technologies, how much would you be able to benefit from these new technologies versus a capture solution that was maybe 10 years old, that was more of a combined paper meets, electronic data processing. So now what we're talking about generally is, whether it's PDF, email with attachment, paper, fax, everything coming into the organization being transformed digitally and then processing that automatically. So I think whether we call it digital transformation or intelligent document recognition as part of it, or transforming paper and paper-based processes, the idea is just automating, cutting costs, and being able to prove that via successful customer examples.
Okay, I'm gonna tweak them. I'm gonna add a little bit to this next question that I have for you, because I know how you're going to answer. Obviously we're a little bit biased, but capture is its core in the ongoing race to digitally transform organizations. You mentioned in there something that I should have asked, planned to ask beforehand, and that is how important is the capture combined with the process? Because the capture just documents in and of themselves, if they don't go anywhere, who cares?
Correct. Yeah. And that's one thing we've noticed a lot. We're calling that right now digital 360 or customer 360. It's kind of an approach of getting everything in a digital format, but really being focused on the customer's business process. So not only, the good old days of the chevrons, image enhancement, barcode reading, OCR, document recognition and validation, and then moving on to content management. What we're seeing a lot more of now is a discussion, especially again in these large shared services environments where they've made a big investment in content management and in ERP systems, is really how do you automate and get information streamlined with minimal touch points. So straight through processing is one term that a lot of folks are using. How do you capture images, capture all the data from those images, and just pass it straight through to the system of record, whether that's a Documentum, a content server, extended ECM, or any of the leading ECM providers, as well as again systems like ERP systems, large systems like SAP. So definitely seeing a lot of interest in integrating directly with those line of business applications.
Fascinating. So I guess just wanted to wrap up with sort of a maybe a positive negative question here, and that is, what are companies still getting wrong about their I'm going to butcher this, digitization efforts? I never can say that correctly.
I hear you, Brian. I say it too many times all day. So I think what they could do a lot better or more of is focusing across, again, on multiple line of business applications, trying to find a capture solution that's going to solve the general problems of the organization, and not just looking at capture as a siloed, just for invoice processing, just for HR, just for eliminating personnel files out of file folders and putting them in an electronic archive. So if you look at that from a larger perspective, basically taking all of the information coming into the organization, pushing it through scanners, importing it through email, PDF, applying uniform business rules, and again, eliminating those cultural issues around paper handling and downstream printing out paper and handling it again over time. So those are some of the issues that I think we've seen organizations struggle with. Another factor is that a lot of times these organizations are dispersed internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done a lot of effort in supporting many different OCR and language character sets. So basically, you can get the same quality recognition, whether it's English, French Canadian, um, all the major European languages, Eastern European, EMEA, Africa. So the idea is that basically you can apply these technologies not just for a single line of business, not just for a shared service in a certain nation, but really across the entire organization span. So that's really been our goal now is to help automate throughout these international organizations.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I guess I hadn't really thought about it from in that standpoint, but a lot of people still consider Capture sort of a point solution. It's going to do this one thing, and really you should be looking at it as a horizontal thing across your entire company. Jim, thank you very much as always for your time and your insights, and look forward to seeing you in September.
Yeah, look forward to coming out there, Bryant, and visiting you at Capture 2022. Thanks for your time.